Despite a handful of modest financial hits like Logan's Run and Rollerball, science fiction movies were considered at best a risky gamble, and at worst box office poison, by the major Hollywood studios in the mid-1970s. Therefore, when George Lucas, fresh off the success of American Graffiti, tried to get one of the big studios to distribute his high-concept space opera The Star Wars, a treatment he had written after failing to secure the rights to Flash Gordon, all of them turned him down. It wasn't until he hounded the president of 20th Century Fox, Alan Ladd Jr., that things started to turn around for him, and eventually, George Lucas secured the backing he needed to craft one of the biggest science fiction franchises of all time.
Spaceballs? Oh, you!
The powerful planet Spaceball has a problem. It is running out of air. In response to this, President Scroob has hatched a devious plan to have his top general, Dark Helmet, kidnap Princess Vespa, the daughter of the king of the wealthy planet Druidia, and use her to gain access to Druidia's air shield. In desperation, the king turns to Lone Star, a down-on-his-luck space flunky, and his half-man, half-companion Barf, constant thorns in the side of Dark Helmet, to rescue the princess and save Druidia.
After spoofing westerns and Blazing Saddles, horror classics in Young Frankenstein, and even silent movies with Silent Movie, Mel Brooks set his sights on the space opera. He spent 6 months coming up with a script alongside fellow writers Ronnie Graham and Thomas Meehan, the first full draft of which came out to a whopping 247 pages. Their collective goal was to craft a sincere fairy tale for kids, dressed up as a satire of popular sci-fi films, especially Star Wars, and true to his nature, Brooks opted for a quantity over quality approach to the humor, arguing that bad jokes are good and no joke would be too stupid to work.
Yogurt! Yogurt! I hate yogurt! Even with strawberries!
They incorporated various forms of comedy into the script, such as slapstick humor, slightly off-color jokes, and intelligent satire, but they stuck primarily to absurd adolescent goofiness. The title was originally supposed to be Planet Moron, but at the time of writing, there was a British film already in development called Morons from Outer Space, so they decided to come up with something else. They quickly settled on the idea of naming it Space something, but they didn't come up with the actual title until Brooks spilled a drink and shouted, "Balls!" Mel Brooks had worked with Alan Ladd Jr. on Young Frankenstein, and the former Fox head who had made George Lucas's dream become reality was instrumental in making sure Spaceballs could not only get produced, but also distributed. Before setting out to actually produce the film, though, Mel Brooks sent a script draft to George Lucas to secure approval. Lucas loved it so much, he not only gave Brooks permission to spoof Star Wars as he saw fit, but he also agreed to help in the post-production, lending out the support of Industrial Light and Magic. His only condition was that no real merchandising could be done for Spaceballs, as Lucas felt Spaceballs action figures would look too similar to Star Wars ones. This provision actually inspired the running gag of Spaceballs merchandise throughout the film. Jumping ahead just a little bit to when the film was nearing completion, Brooks sent a rough cut to Lucas, who wrote back that he was afraid he, quote, would bust something from laughing, unquote. At the end of the day, Brooks was both humbled and encouraged by Lucas's enthusiastic support.
Please, don't make a fuss. I'm just plain yogurt.
Originally, Brooks wanted to hire a big name for the lead role of Lone Star, with the likes of Tom Cruise, James Caan, and Tom Hanks being asked. They all turned him down, but after Brooks managed to secure other well-known actors in other roles, he decided to go with the relatively unknown Bill Pullman, who was fresh off his performance in the criminally underrated Ruthless People.
Don't move!
Who the hell are you?
What the hell is going on? I'm robbing you!
This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
To play the villainous Dark Helmet, he turned to Rick Moranis, whose star was very much on the rise following his performances in Ghostbusters, Brewster's Millions, and 1986's Little Shop of Horrors, not to mention his legendary alter ego Bob McKenzie.
You okay, Hoser?
I'm your father, Luke. Give in to the dark side of the Force, you knob.
He saw Jedi 17 times, eh?
It was Moranis who suggested John Candy for the role of Lone Star's sidekick, Barf.
Not in here, mister. This is a Mercedes.
The makeup used to turn Candy into the half-man, half-dog Mog went through several iterations, starting with a full-face prosthetic that Brooks hated, remarking that if they were going to cover up the actor's face, they might as well hire somebody cheaper. Filming began in late October 1986, on a final production budget of roughly $25 million, making Spaceballs the most expensive film Mel Brooks would ever direct. While there was some location shooting done in the Yuma Desert and other areas around LA such as St. Matthew's Episcopal Church and Pacific Palisades, most of the film was done on MGM soundstages in Culver City. Despite his status as a comedy legend, Mel Brooks took the job of directing the film very seriously and ensured that the shoot went relatively smoothly, with no real incidents on record.
He did it. What?
The thing about Mel Brooks is that he loved to include everyone in the process, from the actors to the lowly stagehands, encouraging anybody to come forward with ideas at any time. This led to plenty of improvisation and a constant creative energy on set, with some of the best lines and even a few whole scenes being done on the fly. One of my favorite bits of trivia is that Brooks wrote the styrofoam coffee cups into the script because they had been a constant nuisance on previous films he'd worked on, often left laying around by cast and crew and making their way into camera shots. He figured, if you see dark... While we're stopped, I just want to quickly remind you to hit that like button, and if you really do like this video, hit that subscribe as well. Your support really makes this channel possible, so please, if you like what I'm doing and you want to see more, consider joining my Patreon to get access to bonus content, vote on future topics, and more. If you want to see even more from me, I'm also the co-host of a couple of different podcasts, the Streaming HEAP and From Here to Paternity, which are available wherever you get your podcasts, and I have a novel called Paradox that is available through Amazon. If all else fails, though, you can always check out my website at emcgill.com, where you'll find written reviews of plenty more sci-fi classics in both film and literature. Now then, with all that shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's move on. Spaceballs released in June of 1987 to surprisingly negative reviews and a total domestic box office gross of only $38.1 million. While not a flop, this was seen as deeply disappointing, and is sometimes considered the beginning of the end of Mel Brooks' career as a film director, 1993's Robin Hood Men in Tights notwithstanding. However, the movie did incredibly well on the home video market, and finds itself topping many lists of the greatest sci-fi parodies ever made. The movie itself teases a potential sequel.
God willing, we'll all meet again in Spaceballs 2, to search for more money.
And rumors have run rampant for decades that one could be in the works, even as recently as 2015, with Brooks himself teasing the possibility. Heck, if Hulu's History of the World Part 2 is deemed successful, it could still happen. I know humor can be terribly subjective, and I'm not going to argue with you if you tell me Mel Brooks doesn't do it for you.
No, he doesn't do it for me.
Personally, though, I grew up with his movies and have committed to memory Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and the original Producers, which I still say is far and away superior to the modern Broadway version. But if you pin me down and force me to tell you which Mel Brooks movie is my favorite, I have no doubt I will tell you Spaceballs. In my mind, it is peak Mel Brooks, not just because it's funny, but because, believe it or not, I think it reflects something profound. You see, Mel Brooks is a man of contradictions. He became a big-budget director who only wanted to make fun of big-budget movies. He doesn't like directing, but he likes working under other directors even less. He is a serious filmmaker and producer, And that's all for today, my fellow Earthlings. What's your favorite movie spoof? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and until next time when we'll get a pretty vivid example of what pregnancy can do to a woman, this is the Unapologetic Geek telling you to never be ashamed of what you love, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
What the hell was that?
Spaceball 1.
They've gone to plaid.